Stage 17 of the Giro d'Italia ended in glory for the youngest ever Colombian to win a stage of the race. Santiago Buitrago took on the breakaway and won. Behind it was the pink jersey and Jaya Hindley, still not separated by anything more than 3 seconds. Landa rose to the podium, Almeida dropped to 4th, Nibali was up to 5th. Overnight, though, there was bad news for UAE Emirates. Joao Almeida feeling unwell and testing positive for COVID-19, therefore leaving the race. So in 4th place and with a good shot of the podium, the young Portuguese had to leave the Giro d'Italia. That meant that Juanpe Lopez would be back in the white jersey at the start of stage 18, a day that should have been for the sprinters. Mark Cavendish and the rest hoping to try and battle it out in a fast finish. Demar, the top sprinter in the race, Dainese, another stage winner as well, as they left Borgo Valsugana and headed down the valley into the Veneto. Through Valdobbiadene and Prosecco country, a climb up Muro di Ca del Poggio, one of the emblematic short climbs of the region, and a lap and a half around the town of Treviso, home to many big cycling brands. 156 kilometres for the final opportunity for the sprinters at this Giro. It took around 10 kilometres for the breakaway to form. And once it did form, it consisted of 4 really strong riders. Dries de Bont, Magnus Cort, as well as Edoardo Affini and Davide Gabburro flying the flag for the smaller invited Italian teams. They were never really given more than 2 and a bit minutes, however. The sprinters not wanting to make a miscalculation. There was precedence down the years of that having happened. It became clear they were not going to get too much more, so the break started to play the game, discussing tactics, making sure they wouldn't go too hard, although Rui Costa did do that, and he found a few people in the peloton who were a bit fed up with how he chased things down. Jacopo Guarnieri came to have a word. Finally everybody was friends again, and we headed to the last climb of the day. The gap was 2.5 minutes on the Muro di Ca del Poggio. The breakaway really starting to exert effort again after having gone easy, or relatively easy, just about as easy as you can go in a breakaway. So had they saved enough energy? They were flying by this point, and with just under 30 kilometres to go, despite the bunch's panic and plenty of hands to the pump, they were still 140 ahead. That dropped to 115 with just under 20 k's to go, but it seemed like the gap wasn't moving quickly enough. There was movement behind. Juanpe Lopez caught out in a split, the peloton broken in 2, and Lopez about to slip from 8th to 9th on GC. 1 lap to go, 1 minute and 11. It looked increasingly like the break would have its day when it was still over a minute with just under 7 k's to go. They panicked, they worked, but they couldn't bring it back, and it was to prove a miscalculation. There was further panic and confusion when Jaya Hindley looked to have lost contact with the Maglia Rosa bunch inside the final kilometre. However, that later proved to be a mechanical, and once inside 3 k's to go, he was then given the same time as the Maglia Rosa. But it was all about the stage win at the front. They worked together until the last few 100 metres. Cort was the man who had to lead it out. On paper, the fastest in the group, but it was the 2 strong men who were fighting it out for the win. Dries de Bont on the bike throw, getting just about the better of Edoardo Affini and winning a Grand Tour stage for the first time. Behind, they were only sprinting for minor places, and Alberto Dainese would win that sprint to the line. The Maglia Rosa coming over the line. Jaya Hindley looking relaxed as he crossed with a teammate just a few seconds later, but of course, mechanical incident and same time given. A career-changing moment for Dries de Bont. The name's Bont, Dries de Bont. And if you didn't know it before, you certainly will now. De Bont finishing ahead of Affini and Cort. Gabburro, the 4th out of that group, also contributing to brilliant team tactics as a breakaway bunch and a fantastic execution of the effort. Disappointment for Juanpe Lopez, who'd lose time, but he'd still be in the top 10 at the end of the day and in the white jersey. So another day in pink successfully navigated for Richard Carapaz. And this is the GC going into the final 3 stages. 3 seconds of a lead for the man who won the Giro 3 years ago. Mikel Landa at 1:05 on the podium. Then it's a big gap to Nibali, who's 4th. Bilbao now up to 5th. The penultimate mountain stage. 2 mountain stages and a time trial remain. This, on paper, not as hard as the one on Saturday. But you never know what might happen. There are still first category climbs. There's an excursion into Slovenia, up Kolovrat and then down to Cividale del Friuli for bonus seconds before a final ascent to the line at the Santuario di Castelmonte. It's stage 19 of the Giro, a 4-star stage and 177 kilometres. As always, you'll be able to watch live and on demand as the fight for pink continues with 3 days to go. It's GCN Plus, Discovery Plus and on the television on Eurosport.